What's happening, peeps and peepettes? Hope you guys are having an awesome day. This is going to be a video where we are going to read a little bit about a new system that is going to come in Star Trek Online, or at least they are working on this system currently, and shortly they're going to bring it out on Tribble. That's actually the place where I am right now. But first of all, I was actually surprised because I actually patched up like a lot of gigs, and to my recollection there wasn't anything new on the Tribble testing server, but then they come out with a new post that kind of got my interest peaked, and this as a new system that they're going to bring up. We basically have seen this particular, or at least if you play multiple games, MMO style and stuff like that, you basically see like this new system in play in like most of the, or at least the majority of games actually have this thing. And what I'm actually talking about is like some kind of like training dummy, and by that I mean like some kind of like NPC or just like a scarecrow, something like that, like a training dummy where you can actually test out your build. Like, and I'm actually comparing it to a training dummy in ground, but they're basically focusing, or at least the post that they're making, this new system that they're making, they currently are working on, and is going to be shortly on the Tribble testing server for us to use, is going to be about space. Now, the majority of players in STO is all about space, so this is definitely going to be something that is going to be used for the majority of us are going to use the system to finalize their build, or at least make their build a little bit more effective against a certain enemy. And I'm really excited to get this thing, or at least to try out this new system whenever they're going to release it, because they just released a blog post about this thing, and it's basically what I just said. This is going to be like a training dummy scenario where you're going to test out your build and basically fine-tune your build against a particular enemy that you can select upon, and like, hey, I want my build to be very effective against Borg, and you know, I need to do to counter plasma and all that. And you know, you can basically finalize your build against that particular enemy. And there are, you know, benefits and also drawbacks about this system. Just keep in mind that if you focus on one enemy, all of the other enemies are going to, you know, you're not going to dish out a lot of damage if you just focus on one enemy. So with this particular system, you can actually finalize your build and make it like overall really good, like against the Nausicaans or against the Borg and against the Davidians that you just saw just at the back of this video. And as you guys can see, a lot of people are here trying to, you know, to get this thing going. And I'm actually going to read for you guys the blog post that is that they just released, just to give you guys an idea of the system, what is going to come. So let me just switch over. Now this is the blog post that they just released. It says right here, test out your build on Tribble, and basically your ship build. I'm hoping, and I'm really hoping, that this is going to be something that we're going to be able to use for ground as well. Maybe some kind of ground map with, you know, basically the same mechanics. So we can use, you know, Borg, or you can use Davidians, or you can use Romulans, or whatever, Klingons, whatever is going to be an enemy, you can basically fine-tune your build against that. So I'm just going to read the entire blog post so you guys know what is going to come and what is going to be happening, what's going to be the new hype in SGO, hopefully very soon, because I'm really hyped about this thing, because it's basically tells you that they are basically listening, even though it's a little bit late. They're still listening to players, because players, amongst them me as well, have been screaming for this as a system in STO, to have something to test out our build, and before we actually finalize it, to get some raw feedback on how our build is doing. And we can basically do that with this new system. So it says right here, coming soon to Star Trek Online Tribble testing server is a all new space map to test your skills in space combat. Starbase 234 rebuild and reborn. After the devastation by the Herods in the Iconian War, Starbase 234 has been rebuilt from the ground up to once again serve as a training ground for the Allies starships. This improved starship makes extensive use of holographic technology to allow captains to engage in simulated combat in a wide variety of situations. This extensive training ground is intended to ensure that starship captains and their crew can safely become experienced against the many foes in the galaxy to ensure they're as prepared as one can be, I guessing. For captain wishing to appear on the front lines of the most dangerous battles, the simulated enemy on this map can become as daunting as you feel worthy of challenging. To ensure that the captains and their crew are up to whatever it takes to survive. After entering the system, you will be able to hail Starfleet 234 to set up what enemies you wish to face against. To learn more about the system, you can access your bank account and more, and all of that goody stuff, account banks and all that good stuff that you basically need to swap out items, better engines, shields, weapons, slots, and all that you might have in your bank or in your account bank that you are like switching back and forth to your main characters, or at least I'm going to utilize that. Now this is going to be on the Tribble testing server, so whatever items you are going to have is going to be available to you. So I'm guessing there is not going to be some kind of like exchange, because there is nothing to be gained in financially, like EC wise or Zen wise, on the Tribble testing server. So this is just going to be the items that you have. Just make them better, just upgrade them for freely on the testing server and see what their potential outcome in damage DPS wise could be, because this thing is fictional. It's on the Tribble testing servers, so it's not going to be on the holodeck server, not the real server. This is just going to be for testing purposes. You can basically finalize your build, like I'm saying more often in this video, just to finalize your build and just to see what works for you and what does not work for you. And this is also going to be very good for players like me, particularly because or at least the gameplay that I tend to play as is basically just like flying carriers, and I basically do that whatever ship I'm actually using, because the train of thought by my play style is just go around the enemy. And for an example, escorts tend to just go to the enemy face to face, and cruisers and carriers, those kind of type, basically go around the enemies. And this is definitely good to actually use different tactics and see whatever is going to work. Maybe some, other weapons, maybe go for kinetic, maybe go for science damage and all that. This is definitely something that the players, me amongst them as well, have been screaming, have been asking, have been mailing Cryptic to implement this kind of stuff in the game. And they're basically finalizing this particular system that they're going to implement it. So yay for that. All right, so continuing to read this, test your ship against classic foes, old and new, and new ones. Captains in this map will be able to configure the simulated combat in a wide variety of ways to get the most effective training for them. You can choose from more than a dozen enemy groups to face off against in a large number of scenarios. In addition, while the scenarios are already in a varying difficulty, player can raise or lower the difficulty of whatever encounter they're going to face next. So basically what they're saying here, like if you want to go normal difficulty, sure, go for it. And you can basically kill the enemies faster or slower and see what works and what doesn't work. But you can also increase the difficulty, go to advanced, and maybe try out elite. I wouldn't recommend for the new players amongst us to actually go against elite, because then, if you die, your ship is going to get damaged, and then you have to repair that and all that good stuff. But for the more advanced players among us, this elite difficulty or advanced difficulty could be something that they might want to play around with, because it could be in your advantage to actually see what your ship is capable of, and whatever level of difficulty ships you can actually face off with the current ship, and maybe see whatever might work for you if you upgrade weapons or engines, or swap out some additional components. So that's basically what they're saying here. And also there is a large number of different scenarios. Don't know what they mean by that. Maybe just faced off different waves of enemies, or maybe just a really big armada at once. That could be different ways of different scenarios what they're talking about. But very excited for this as a system to be implemented. I hope that I hope that they're still thinking about, majority of us do play space, but also ground is needed. So some kind of training test dummy is needed, maybe at some kind of like Starfleet Academy or something like that on a side somewhere, and where you can actually test out ground builds as well, so not just space builds. Reading on, in addition to captains looking for a more simple experience, simple but highly durable target ships were also available to practice against on this map. The number of target ships available and some basic information about can be changed as needed. Okay, so there's probably going to be some kind of NPC or interface where you can actually, select what kind of enemies you want, and the information and all that, some basic information about what they are capable of. I'm guessing what kind of like weapons they're going to use against you. Let's say, for example, Borg uses plasma, Klingons use disruptors and all that. So each enemy are basically going to get some kind of information about them. Hey, they use this particular energy type, and they're going to use that against you with this kind of way. So you can, basically counteract that and use, better shields, or shields that actually neglect that damage. So that's really interesting, really excited about this thing. Like I said, get feedback in real time. Now, this is something that the older players are actually using or doing. I don't know, but the new players, they actually utilize this as a mean of getting their build finalized, or, getting a higher number in their overall DPS. But the old players actually did this already. And what they're actually, let me just read it so we can actually get a better understanding. The simulated combat offers something new to Star Trek Online as an automatic integrated combat parser function. So combat parsing is something that the older players are actually using. They're basically seeing what works and what doesn't work through a third program, not utilized by Star Trek, but like a combat parser. And what they're doing right here, they're basically integrating something like that in STO itself. And it's right here, this thing. Actually, what DPS Combat Meter is one of them. Is basically a combat parser that actually sees what damage you actually dealt to your enemy, base amount damage, and then, buffed and all that. What your abilities enhanced, or all kinds of stuff, how much healing you done, how much, how long the combat duration was, how many kills you had, how many assists, everything is available there. And they're basically integrating this as a function in SCO. So that is very, very nice. I'm all for that. Let's read more. Shortly after completing any encounter on this map, you will receive a hail from Starbase 234. With information about how you did in that encounter. This hail includes data from your ship, outgoing damage, how long you spent in combat against that encounter. So basically, all of the information that was in what the older player were actually using to enhance their ship, you're basically going to get straight away from SDOs, their own services. Awesome. All right. Continuing more, while Starbase 234 will automatically hail you after combat, after normal combat encounters, you will need to stop and start the combat tracking yourself in order to, if in target practice mode. So a little bit of manual labor right there. As other things in this map, it is done by hailing the Starfleet, by Starbase, sorry. Shortly after you stop the combat data collecting, you will be hailed by Starbase 234 with the data about how you performed in that interval. So, yeah. So you basically need to start and stop the combat. So you're basically going to get like a summary of what you did from the beginning when you started combat at the end, all the way at the end, like how much damage you did, how much bleed through, and all that good stuff that you basically need to finalize your build. Try it out on Tribble. This map will be available on Tribble shortly. It can be accessed by going into the Tribble testing vendor at the Drzana station, where special items are available to test with. Now, and then it goes on to this bluish part. This highlighted part is like how you can actually go to the Tribble testing server to copy your character and then just basically go there. But as it is right now, and then let me just go back so you guys can actually see, as it is right now in STO, this function is not available for us. We can go here. This is basically the new, or at least not the new. This is the consoles that they're talking about. So you come here at the Drzana station right here, and you come over here. This is a console that they put up. This is not available on the holodeck. Sorry about this. 7% discount for the next 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, so on the holodeck server, this console is not available. You guys, or at least all of us, do not see this console. This is just put up here for us to test out special stuff that they want us to test, so they can gather data and feedback, what is broken and what's not broken, all that kind of stuff. So you go over here, access this thing. There's a store. There should be a new tab somewhere, I'm guessing, where we can actually, start that combat or just get, more information how to actually start that. Right now, it's just on reputation, specialization items, skill revamp fleets, and basically the old, new discovery stuff. People that have ranked reputation, the discovery reputation all the way to level 6 are basically have access to that. But if you don't have access to those, you can basically grab yourself one of these here, free of charge, because they do want feedback. But this system is not out yet on Tribble testing server. But as it is, as you guys just read with me, the entire system, I'm very excited about the new system. When they're going to release it, I have no idea. I'm going to keep you guys updated when this is going to go live, and actually going to go through some kind of like different scenarios with different enemies, and basically see what works and what doesn't work for your build. And as it says right there, you can also get like a feedback on the encounter, how you did, if you did enough damage or not against a particular enemy. So you can basically finalize and see, finalize your build and see what you're doing and how much damage, or if that is to your liking against a particular enemy. I'm just hoping that this is also going to be available for ground. And that's it. That's it for this video. Very excited. Hopefully it's going to come up soon rather than later, because right now there's nothing to be done in STO except the Arena of Song Pack. So, I'm very excited about this system. Anyway, that's it for this video. I will keep you apprised whatever new stuff is going to come up on the Tribble testing server, and then we're going to get a closer look and whenever this system is going to go live on the Tribble testing server, so we can, see what works and what doesn't work for my particular character, and then you guys can go over there and check it out for yourself, and basically see what works and what doesn't work for your own character. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys had a little bit of information coming out. Hope you guys are a little bit excited like I am, and I would love to see you guys on the next video. Take care and later.